At this time, I'd like to call to order the March 22nd council meeting for the city of Twinsburg. Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Post?
Here.
Mrs. Labby? Here. Mrs. Walker?
Present.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
At this time, I'd like to have everybody stand for the invocation Pledge of Allegiance led by Daisy Walker.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of the community. Fill us with your grace as we will make decisions that affect all of our residents and businesses and our dedicated city employees. Bless those away from us serving to protect our country. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the March 8th meeting? At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted.
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Discussion. Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby? Yes. Mr. Post?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we move on to awards and presentations. Mary Yates.
Yeah. Okay, so tonight we have a gold award. If you'd like to come on up for Girl Scout, and I heard you bring in a whole crew with you, so bring them on up. Maybe I'll have you introduce who you have with you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Julia, and these are some of my reading buddies. Do you want to say your name?
Camille.
What is it?
Camille. And
Julia.
Mia. Karan.
Kavan.
William.
Yeah, so these are some of my reading buddies.
So tonight we have Julia here tonight for her gold award in Girl Scouts. And this is such a prestigious award. We get to do it with Boy Scouts quite often. I've probably done 20 over the last 6-7 years. And this is, I believe, my fourth gold award. So it's really a prestigious honor, and the work they do to get there, and as well as their community involvement. So I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas the administration, council, and residents of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio, extend congratulations to Julia Stoddard Dare for her achievement in earning the Girl Scout Gold Award. And whereas Julia Stoddard Dare was born March 3rd, 2006 in Rochester, she's currently a sophomore honor student at Twinsburg High School, and she's also a College Credit Plus student at Kent State University. For Julia Award, she created a Reading Buddies program in our community to support young readers. She collaborated with the Twinsburg Public Schools and the Twinsburg Public Library to design, launch, and facilitate the Reading Buddies program. Interested elementary school readers are paired with a high school student to meet at the library to practice reading on Sunday afternoons and Tuesday evenings. The program is ongoing and enjoys enthusiastic student participation. Julia has worked directly as a buddy to 11 different local elementary school children, and she coordinates 8 high school volunteers. Children in the program have increased their attitudes toward reading as measured by a scale, and parents have reported their children's increased their reading levels and their reading test scores. And whereas Julia is a lifeguard at the Twinsburg Fitness Center and at the Twinsburg Water Park, Brandon Burns, the aquatics and camp superintendent, said, quote, Julia is a hardworking and caring employee who works to ensure the residents in our community stay safe in, on, and around the water. She also assists in our swim lesson program, teaching kids skills they can use for a lifetime to enjoy aquatic activities while staying safe. Drowning is the leading cause of death among children age 1 through 4. With every lesson, she is working to save a life. We are very proud of Julia and are proud to call her a Parks and Recreation employee. Now, therefore, I, Ted Yates, Mayor of the City of Twinsburg, express my congratulations to Julia Stoddard Dare on earning this prestigious and honorable Gold Award. I further congratulate her parents, James and Patricia, along with family, friends, and fellow Scouts as they gather to commemorate this special occasion.
Thank you so much.
That's cool. Very cool.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is audience participation.
Do you want to see if anybody wants to stay or if they're free to go?
Well, sure, we could let you leave.
I'm sure they want to stay.
I know that this is riveting, and it's probably the most exciting show that you've ever seen. But if you want to go home and do your homework, you can leave now.
Or you can get a good lesson on environmentalism.
You can go home and watch it live if you choose as well, you know.
Congratulations.
Bye, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, moving on to audience participation. First, we have Mark Satowski.
Good evening. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yep, my name is Mark Sikowski, 2445 Hudson, Ohio, Twinsburg resident. As many of you know, I sent you guys an email regarding a development project that's currently ongoing with planning and development called Project Gumbo on Old Mill Road. I live 2 lots away from it. I wanted to put my face to the name and personally invite each and every one of you to take a walk on my property and see firsthand the negative consequences that this project has already had on my property, as well as see your own eyes what the continuation of this project is going to ruin on mine and my wife's piece of land in Twinsburg, as well as the surrounding residents. I'd like to thank all of the city officials who spend the countless hours writing city ordinances and charters to better the city and protect the residents. My question is, who enforces these ordinances and charters?
We don't respond at this time.
Okay, that's it. Whose job is it? I briefly read through the comprehensive plan, and it sounds great if all the rules are followed. Page 14, Ravenna Road, and page 15, Old Mill Road, PDAs, are both zoned I-2, but in the Ravenna Road, PDA points out that the intensive commercial and light industrial zone land is located to the north and commercial residential uses to the south and across the street on Ravenna Road. City land use goals seek to minimize conflicts like residential use next to industrial use. Development of this lot is for a higher density residential use, as single family homes, cluster homes development could be supported. Residential development could be supported at this location. In looking at the PDA for Old Mill, there's nothing noted there about protecting the residents of Old Mill Road. The proposed project on Old Mill is going to destroy our neighborhood, land values, groundwater, and general welfare. According to the ordinance of 1181, the city of Twinsburg protects its residents from these. In closing, my wife and I were both raised, educated, and have chosen to raise our family here. I'm a long life resident of the city of Twinsburg. My wife was born and raised on Old Mill Road, and we have owned our home in the city for now 17 years. I want again to personally invite each and every one of you to stop over and take a walk to see with your own eyes the devastation that we have to look at every day. Thanks again.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Shannon, can you call the next person?
Next, we have Chris Griffith.
What was his name?
Field.
I don't know, but we can get it on the record.
Lynn Clark.
What is the address? Right here.
What was his name?
Lynn Clark, 2485 Old Mill Road. And I'm just not going to go back and rehash everything that I did before because it's not value added, but I would like to add just one or two little things that, again, we've got the opportunity as a community to demonstrate the value of having these visions of green desirable places to live here in Twinsburg. And one of the things that we've been looking at relative to this Project Gumbo down there on Old Mill is when they cut those trees down, I just did a rough estimate, we've lost about 20 tons per year of vegetation that can capture that much CO2. And it sat there for a year. So that's not helping the overall community achieve any kind of improvement. And that's before you count in, all another 400 cars have parking at that site, 100 trucks per day with all of their emissions. And we know those trucks like to leave their engines idling. And that also doesn't count the extra sewage that's going to be generated by that facility that our wastewater treatment plant's going to have to treat. And again, that's a huge consumer of electricity, running those blowers down there. So just, again, kind of in closing, I've always got a little quote to throw in here. And this is from Admiral Rickover. He says, "The devil is in the details." We've got a lot of good vision statements worked into these plans. Now to execute them is really when we got to start doing the push-ups to deliver value to the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Next we have, is it Matthew Epple? Eppley. Okay. Don Sikowski and Steve Hummel.
About 20 minutes. Thank you. I ramble. I think I try to make some points here, but anyways, I was, it was my first stab at this
Sir, before you get going.
Oh, sorry about that.
Can you give me your
Steve
name?
Hummel, 2500 Old Mill Road.
Thank you, sir.
Twinsburg Township, 44236.
Okay.
I'm across the road from that site that's been worked over. And so, really I'm here about that issue. I've looked at the comprehensive plan about the sustainability, what you're trying to achieve there, and that's all good. On page 2 of that plan, it says the city, the importance is placed on preservation and property maintenance. Well, the preservation on that site has not occurred. And, that's the problem that I have. I mean, like we had talked about at some of the meetings, nobody knew that they were going to come in and clear until it happened. And first day, I just walked the other day. I live across the street. I took a walk on that site. And I think there was a lot of, I think the Army Corps erred in some of their decision-making processes. A lot of things there. There's 3 creeks that run off of that site, at least 3. And the main one, originally the Army Corps wouldn't allow these guys to fill it when they took their first bite at the apple. And that one's perennial. That one is a beautiful rockline creek that dumps down, it always flows. And that's a big problem what they're doing with that. They have not looked at the hydrology properly on that site. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I've looked at the plans, I'm in the midst of reviewing them, I'm talking to some people in Kentucky about them. I need more information about it. I'm waiting on it. I need to get that to further do my review. So, but just generally speaking, I don't even need to crunch the numbers. And I can look at that site and see that the way they designed it is very poor. They're dumping all the vast majority of water toward the high transmission wires, and they're not looking at the watershed where these guys' creeks are. In other words, their standard that they talk about in the ordinances with water quality and quantity, they're not being met. It's not like they're not like separate issues. Like the Army Corps walks onto this site and it's a box of Converse shoes, and that's it. And then this site here is another box of Converse shoes, and they're separate. The funny thing is that one only has the left shoe and that one has the right. They are interconnected. And you talk about the interdependence between environmental, economic, and social equity in your comprehensive plan. There's definitely an interdependence here of all this. It's not just segregated. And this is what your comprehensive plan and the sustainability, I think, are trying to address. The layout of that plan is not well done, and I don't want to be redundant here. I mean, we get down to it when we get down to it, but I don't see that. And I also see the issue with when they talk about Ravenna Road, and then there's that interface between residents and industry. On page 14 of your comprehensive plan, and they go through different areas. On Old Mill, they don't really mention that, and they certainly don't worry about suggesting that it shouldn't be developed industry. But they did in Ravenna Road. They definitely made that recommendation to the city to say we shouldn't have industrial here, but Old Mill's okay. Not much different. And even though we're township residents, a lot of us, you know, there's a 3-mile state law. We are afforded the same protections as the people in the city. Same protections. And so we should get those protections. And they're not even putting buffers in to protect us from all the lights. We don't know if it's a 24/7 facility. That's obnoxious in an area like that. There's no doubt about that. That's obnoxious. There's studies that have been done about light pollution that we're not looking at. That's all about our safety and welfare. And nobody's addressing that. We don't know. I mean, if they light that place up, it's going to be miserable over there. And you know what? My spring peepers won't even be peeping anymore on my conservation easement. I've already taken the damage because they cleared the site. I've got a whole nother herd of deer on my land, and I have it for wildlife, but my conservation easement that helps the sustainability of the area has been drastically hurt by just what they've done already. I've had 50, 60-year-old rhododendron mowed down because of what they've done over there. So, I mean, those are all the things. It does not meet the criteria of sustainability. I mean, it's obvious. I'll be redundant to say it. Anybody that really looks at it can see it doesn't. And the other thing about the Old Mill issue is they talk about that on page 15 about this, and they say they've got ingress to Old Mill. That was never supposed to happen. That land was township land. In fact, 100% of the land was township land. 90% until 1950s, 1960s, then it all became city land because everybody annexed in because they wanted to do this and that, which is the way it happens. But in the 80s, that was township land zoned for residential. CP Plastics moved in. You put the big buffer on Old Mill, they did, and they also planted all those pine trees along there. That was for our protection in the township. We didn't want that to happen.
Time.
So, but don't, maybe your time a little bit?
It doesn't work like that.
Okay. Anyways, what I'm saying here is you go out 91 with this project, and we'll be fighting that till the day it ends, because that was supposed to be taken care of by the city. When CP Plastic did that, they took 2 bites at the apple. They just let them land split for that 96K. And at that point, they should have made them do it again. And everybody pushed that down the road. That is a very important point. That can't come out onto Old Mill. And that's a big fight that's going to be had coming up. We ain't stopping on that.
Okay. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Are there any comments? Okay.
Mark, after the meeting last night, I did hook up with Mark Libertine. And I am planning on walking the property tomorrow with him, 5 o'clock. So I know you invited us all. I'm planning on doing it. If it rains, I will not be. It'll be muddy. But I just want you to know, you open up an invite. I do have that planned already tomorrow with Mark. Just to go. Yeah, so just want to let you know. Yep, we're listening. Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda is council committee reports. Mr. Post?
Yes, I went to the Planning Commission meeting last night. Mr. Barr was unable to attend, so it was great to see all that. Let me grab out my notes as I was not ready for that. So there were just a couple items as far as the work session goes. Summit Sound is looking to build an addition in the back. They were asked to go to the BZA just for certain zoning. Holt Orthodontics is looking to move in and build a over three phases, an orthodontist to start over at the corner of 91 in Richner. That would be at 3 phases. Phase 1 would be 3,500 square feet, then 4,600 square feet, and 6,500 square feet. One of their concerns was the water retention. One of the planning concerns was the water at that area, and a huge concern was the traffic with the elementary school right there. You know, where will everyone go in and out, especially at those times. We had a lot of speakers come last night from Old Mill, the Old Mill project, and same people here. It was a few more people spoke last night, and it was very well spoken what you were talking about. Ms. Labby spoke last night as well about the project, and you know, people are listening. I think it's tough. You have, you know, a project that wants to do what they want on their land, and I think that, you know, the truth is somewhere in the middle, and I agree with some of your points, and people are listening, and you know, we're listening, and that's all I can say to that. The next meeting was not determined yet, but Lynn will set the date on the Planning Commission website. They're looking at either April 4th or April 19th for the next Planning Commission meeting. She's not sure yet at this point. I did attend the Finance meeting before this meeting. I will let Mr. Bellin speak on that, as he is the chair of that committee. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Post. Mr. Barr, do you have anything to report this evening?
Just thank you to Mr. Post for attending planning last night for me. I was unable to attend, but
Ms. Walker was also there, by the way, I should say.
we there's planning is listening. I've spoken to the members of that commission. None of this is being taken lightly, and I'll leave it there for right now. But everybody is listening to the residents and our friends in the township adjacent. You've put together a very eloquent group of individuals to make some very salient points, and I can't speak for anybody else up here, but we hear you. So that's all I have. I did attend Finance tonight. Mr. Bellin will be reporting on that. And like Mr. Post said, I think the next Planning Commission meeting is yet to be determined, either the 4th or the 18th. So,
19th.
19th?
Well, it originally said 18th, but then they said 19th, but it doesn't matter. It's to be determined.
Tuesday. Yeah, all right.
Right,
Well,
it
we'll
did
get
make
it
sense
figured out.
tonight, too, but
All right. That's
right.
all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
all right.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Mrs. Labby.
Thank you. Good evening. On the night I attended the Jedi half session, which was done during the day, I found it very productive, that particular meeting, as opposed to the one before, which is a little slow. I thought it was very productive. Progress was made, but we did not come to set goals, which is coming up on the 11th, is it? Yes, the 11th. We will continue the rest of that meeting, set goals, and hopefully get that into action. Because of that, there will be no Jedi meetings as far as the breakout meetings or the full sessions. So I did attend the same day a Twins Days meeting. The main focus that was a little lighter was on T-shirts. So that was interesting. It's always interesting to see what they come up with. So I attended the planning meeting yesterday in support of my ward people. And today I attended the finance meeting, and Greg covered that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Walker.
Good evening, everyone. I also attended the planning committee, and I'm with Mr. Bellin that we are listening, and there will be some changes made. I'm hopeful of that. Also, if I could piggyback with Mr. Post and meet at your property tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I'd greatly appreciate it. I just need to know your address.
Actually,
so I could go up.
I meant to say if anybody would like to join at 5 o'clock.
Yes,
I'm starting at Mark Libertine's house, and I can, I'll text you the address if anyone else wants to join to go for the walk.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good.
Again, if it's muddy though, we're not going to be. It's supposed to be pretty rainy tomorrow, so if we change it, I'll let you know though.
I have boots.
Boots, waders.
Yes. And I also attended the Finance Committee that we had today. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Mr. Bell?
Good evening, thank you.
Excuse me.
The Gulf Advisory Board meeting that was scheduled for March 15th was canceled due to lack of quorum of our participants. The next Gulf Advisory Board meeting will be held on May 17th at 6:30 p.m. here in council chambers, where I will be swearing in the new members of the Gulf Advisory Board. I attended this evening's Finance Committee meeting. We had 2022 permanent appropriations presentations from Chris Campbell for Public Works, Chief Morgan for the Fire Department, and Chief Mason for the Police Department. The Finance Committee did unanimously recommend to council that we pass the 2022 permanent appropriations for this evening. We also got an update from Mrs. Buccigross about a small amount of additional funds from the American Rescue Plan, as well as an update of the Ohio Online Checkbook site. I'll let her go into that later this evening. The next Finance Committee meeting will be on Tuesday, April 26th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers. Public Works Committee is scheduled to meet on Tuesday, April 12th at 6 p.m. And the next meeting of the Safety Committee will be on Tuesday, May 10th, also here in council chambers. Nothing further this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellin. The ARB met on March 17th. There were 3 items on the agenda. First was case 220311, which was an electronic sign for self-defense, flip defense, passed 4-0. Next case was 220312, which was Darrow Road for Summit Sound was looking for an addition. Their program passed 4-0. And lastly, there was a new family home at 8981 Depot Street, and that was case 220313, and that passed 4-0 as well. The next ARB meeting is on April 7th at 6 p.m. This Thursday at 5 p.m. there will be a Tax Incentive Review Committee at City Hall. That's a meeting that is held annually to review the CRA and TOP programs, which are the abatement programs we have for some businesses, and to make sure that they're living up to their commitment to get the discount on their taxes. Following that, at 6 p.m., there'll be a CIC meeting at City Hall as well. I did attend the finance meeting tonight, and the next ARB meeting is April 7th, and that's all I have. Mayor Yates?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Just to address the residents of Old Mill, I spoke at the one Planning Commission meeting. Again, there's not a day that goes by that we don't have discussions about this project behind the scenes. It's a difficult balance between property rights and legal enforcement of what we can and can't do. We've had meetings with the developer. We've had requirements put on the developer. And there is, again, constant communication. Your voices are being heard, again, as council shared. And so we will continue to do what we can as this project, again, I guess slowly moves forward and through the process. And but again, just wanted to let you know there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that may not be apparent to you that we're working for both the residents and protecting whatever we can for the city in terms of enforcement of what we can enforce regarding this project. So I just wanted to share that with you. On to more lighter things. So I have my State of the City coming up on April 7th. It's a breakfast meeting. It will be up at Glen Eagles again, and the chamber is organizing that, so anyone that wants to go can get tickets for that through the chamber. We've got some Easter events coming up. Our kids' Easter event, which is an extravaganza at the fitness center, is April 10th at 11 a.m. A little different this year. Usually we have a gym floor and we surround it with candy and kids kind of go crazy and run toward each other. I think they've got a little different event planned for this year, so I encourage you to come to that. It's sold out, but our adult egg hunt is back, so that's on April 9th. It's good to have that event back. It's been gone for 2 years. I know that's basically the most popular event we do in the city of Twinsburg from our adult events. Looking at this spring coming up, we have we have our striping program that we're going to talk about and award the contract tonight. And then we also have our basic road program, and our streets that we're doing this year are Abrams, Lister, Cabot Way, Killingsworth, part of Ethan's, Dayflower, Buckhorn, Silverdale, and then we're also pushing to have the railroad crossings at Glenwood and 91 done. I know Glenwood is horrible. We get emails all the time about that, so just to let the residents know. From an HR standpoint, we do have a new HR director that we've hired that will be starting next week, Kelly Perez, and we're looking forward to her starting because there's a few people sharing HR responsibilities right now. And on that note, we have a lot of postings still available. Our seasonals, we really do need lifeguards. That's one thing that we're really struggling to hire right now. We still need seasonals for our service department, our golf department, at the golf course. We have a full-time secretary position open, an activities coordinator position open. Our economic development director is retiring, so we do have that posting up also. And then we're also looking for a full-time gardener for our service department. So if anyone you know that thinks you may fit that, please direct them to our city website. From a Parks and Rec standpoint, we also have a Mother's Day event coming up on May 7th. That's basically a name with me event. So through the Parks and Rec department, you can sign up for that. Community theater is back also in action. So I know they've not had an event for a while, but we'll be announcing their fall show soon, so pay attention for that. And then Rock the Park is also back. We've got a great series of concerts this year, and on April 10th, we'll start to roll out and announce those concert dates. And that is all I have this evening. We'll do a couple of department reports. Keith, you want to start?
Evening, Council, Mayor.
Keith.
I'll be very brief, only a couple things. We talked about the snowplow stickers, so those have been created and we'll be rolling those out this year. Happy to say that.
You showed us the crowd.
Could you show? Yes.
Sue.
So yeah, those should be very visible on vehicles that are registered. Following up also, Burgers to Beer, conversations with them and work that they've been proceeding with. They're very close. I've got almost a definite confirmation of April 15th that they will be opening. Tulum has been working and they have had multiple people there daily. I don't know if it's visible to anybody, but there is significant activity there. It's going to be a very, very high-class restaurant. The owner is taking so much interest in this. It's going to be a very personal space for him as well as the community. I think you guys all like it once it's open. But that's still slated for the 7th of May. So hopefully he sticks to that. Just some brief statistics. Our permit fees we collected this last month in February, we were at $97,850 in permits, and we were almost at $10 million in total valuation at $9,899,988.93. We issued 5 certificate of occupancies. We had 9 point of sales and 4 case property maintenance issues that we resolved. So that's about all I have, unless you have any questions or any concerns. That concludes.
Has there been
my
any
report.
update on the property across the street from Presidential Parkway?
Yeah.
The
Benzie property?
Yes.
We've had some conversations. I would defer to the law department. I think some of the details with that, as we found that because there was in the process of a death and the property transfers, they were transferred to an individual, and without getting into all the details, I think some of that's been concluded, so it gave us a little bit more of a task to pin things down and get them in a direction where we can move forward. But
Thank you.
I think the law department's going to work further on that.
Okay, thank you.
It was still held up in Father's Day. It's now it was a transfer on death affidavit, so that now has been processed, so it is in the name of, I believe, 5 children, and it's in the law department's hands, so we're going to be, again, pushing that forward toward citation and hopefully demolition.
Thank you. And so I guess the only thing I would ask is when the grass starts growing, I would just like to make sure that that property is mowed. I know it's not city property, but.
Yeah, that is on the list.
Thank you.
As you know, last year we did hire a subcontractor that worked out very well for us. I think in the beginning it was a little bit of a transition, but we stayed ahead well. I'm hoping they're going to be back this year, and we should start right out of the gate and stay ahead of all those properties that we run into that same problem.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've been in contact with some of the family members, and I don't know that we cut that last year. I think that he did.
We may have twice.
Maybe twice, so I know they did some, but as we get into spring and grass starts growing rapidly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, we're going to do a report?
Sarah.
I'm
Good
sorry,
evening,
Sarah.
Council.
Hi. Well, Ted wasn't
It's
paying
quick.
attention. I don't know what's going on. It's the mayor's section, not mine.
Finance has closed the February 2022 books, and those financials are available online. March 22 income tax revenues, we're at 1.66 million this month. Compared to last year, we were at 1.57. We are still down from pre-pandemic days. So that is a bit concerning, as we've heard from all of our budget meetings that the prices on all things are going up. So we are hoping to catch up, but we're still watching for those large employers that have not returned to work in the city to see how that affects us. We'll probably see that in the second quarter, is my guess. Tonight, we have permanent appropriations on third reading. We will pass that on emergency so that we can get that submitted to the county. And then the Ohio Online Checkbook is under final review. The site is built. We're just doing one last check, and we should have that live for the public by the end of the month. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And then Mark, I'm getting messages that my mic is working out live stream, so I'll let you know. And that's all we have this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Next on our agenda is legislation. First up is ordinance 15/2022.
The permanent appropriation ordinance for 2022, approved by council from estimates submitted by the mayor, providing for the ordinary expenses and other necessary expenses of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
Okay. At this time, I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules and put ordinance 15/2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I second.
Mrs. Walker seconds. Discussion. The reason that there's an emergency is we have to have the budget, which is this year, the total will be $43.998 million, submitted to the county before the end of the month. If it wasn't for the emergency, we'd have to wait 30 days. So, is there any further discussion? All right. Shannon, would you call the roll for the emergency, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. The emergency for ordinance 15/2022 passes 6-0. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 15/2022 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Discussion.
Yeah, I just want to say that, again, as I mentioned during my report, this was recommended unanimously by the Finance Committee. I'd like to thank Mr. Post and Mr. Fury for all their work. I'd also like to thank Mrs. Buccigross, as well as all the department heads, the mayor, and the rest of the administration that worked to put this together.
Okay. Any further comments?
No, yeah, I just want to thank the department. This is a long process. This starts, in the fall. Start working through a lot. There's a lot of meetings and a lot of things that happen here at City Hall before it even gets to council. So I want to thank department heads for all their work on this year's budget, and thank council for their work on it also.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody else? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 15, 2022 passes 6-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 30, 2022.
An ordinance amending Chapter 111, Council of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Twinsburg regarding council rules.
Okay, that stands on its first reading. Resolution 31, 2022.
A resolution designating the composition of the Twinsburg Summit County Tax Incentive Review Council.
Okay. This time I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 31, 2022. Is there a second?
Excuse me, Mr. Furry. Do you need to do that as an emergency?
I'm going to be on track. Just trust me.
I apologize.
I got it. Mrs. Labby seconds. Okay. Discussion. Now that we're in discussion, I'd like to make a motion to amend Resolution 31, 2022 to add an emergency clause. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bellin seconds. The reason that we want an emergency on this is we're appointing a council person and 2 residents to a meeting that's going to take place in 2 days. So we need to get this in emergencies rather than wait 10 days for the resolution to go in place. Okay, so is there anybody else commenting on the amendment for the resolution to add the emergency? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Okay. The resolution passes 6-0. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt as an emergency Resolution 31, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Labby seconds. Any further discussion? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 31, 2022 passes 6-0 on an emergency. Ordinance 32, 2022.
An ordinance establishing salaries, wages, and employment descriptions for certain employees of the city and updating classifications of employees to be known as a salary ordinance and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and put ordinance 32, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Barr seconds. Discussion on the emergency. All right. So this is not the right one. Do we do the, excuse me, I confused it. I went to 32 instead of 31. I'd like to rescind that and make a resolution that we adopt 31, 2022 as an emergency. Is there a second?
Did we just did that.
We passed the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't read the names, I apologize.
32 is Jedi.
Okay, 32, so we've got an emergency on the table to pass for the salary ordinance.
And the reason for the emergency is just so we can get these folks paid.
Okay,
We don't have to, again, wait the
don't have to wait the 30
30
days.
days. Okay.
If there is any more comments, Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency clause passes 6-0. This time I'd like to adopt ordinance 32, 2022 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I will second.
Mrs. Labby seconds. Is there any further discussion? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 32, 2022 passes 6-0 on an emergency. Ordinance 33, 2022.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 15, 2022, the appropriation ordinance for the city of Twinsburg for the year 2022, and declaring an emergency.
Okay. This time I'd like to put ordinance 33, 2022 on its third and final reading and declare it emergency. Is there a second?
Second. Yield.
Mr. Barr seconds. Discussion.
We need to put on emergency just to get the money spent before the end of March.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Shannon, would you call the roll on the emergency, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency on 33, 2022 passes 6-0. At this time, I'd like to adopt ordinance 33, 2022 as an emergency. Is there a second?
A second.
Mrs. Walker seconds. Any further discussion? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 33, 2022 passes as an emergency 6-0. Resolution 34, 2022.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with EnviroScience to provide environmental services required for the Ravenna Shepherd Broadway Richmond Road project.
Make a motion that we adopt Resolution 34, 2022. Is there a second?
Second. Mrs. Walker.
Ms. Walker seconds. Did you ask me to put this on emergency? Did we talk about that?
It says,
I don't think,
and declaring an emergency.
no, we don't need an emergency.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
34.
Shannon, would you call the roll?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Resolution 34, 2022 passes 6-0. Ordinance 35, 2022.
An ordinance accepting the bid of JD Striping and Services for the 2022 road striping contract and declaring an emergency.
I make a motion that we put ordinance 35, 2022 on its third and final reading, declared emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Post seconds. Discussion. The reason for the emergency is we want to get the striping program going as quickly as possible at a cost of $61,848. Is there any further discussion? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. The emergency clause passes 6-0. This time I'd like to adopt ordinance 35, 2022 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ideal.
Mr. Barr, seconds. Any further discussion?
To fight. Fight for second.
Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 35, 2022 passes on an emergency 6-0. Ordinance 36, 2022.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Northeast Ohio Trenching Services Incorporated for the 2022 Cannon Road Storm Sewer Project and declaring an emergency.
Okay. This time I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules on ordinance 36, 2022 and put it on its third and final reading, declaring it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. The reason for the emergency is we want to start this project, and the cost is $187,000 for the Cannon Road project. Is there any further discussion on the emergency?
Do we know the duration of this project?
The duration of the project?
Yeah. Do we know how long it will take?
I do not know that. Is there any further discussion on the emergency, though? Okay, Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Okay, the emergency passes 6-0. This time I'd like to adopt ordinance 36, 2022 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Is there any further discussion? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 36, 2022 passes 6-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 37, 2022.
An ordinance adopting the document known as the Comprehensive Plan for the Municipality of Twinsburg.
That's on its first meeting. And that ends our legislation for this evening. Miscellaneous. Mr. Bellin, do you have any miscellaneous?
I have nothing further this evening. Thank you.
Mrs. Walker.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Post.
Yeah, I know there was conversation about the comprehensive plan and who governs it and all that. I think we all govern it. You know, everyone up here and everyone involved in the city governs it. I did want to mention, I did have a conversation with David Kleinman about bike paths and how it is in the comprehensive plan on page 33 in that area. It was talking about how we are really limited in that area. And you know, he's made arguments for a while about that, and I agree with him. And so I'm going to be talking to Amy to find out, you know, as we do roads, will we be, as we do all these roads, will we be thinking about that and looking to connect the park systems? I know a lot of surrounding communities have their bike trails, and I agree that, there's a lot of money available out there that we would not have to put forth necessarily. So I'm going to hope to work with him and see if we can move forward on that. So just wanted to mention that, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barr?
Just thank everybody for coming out tonight, taking the time to share their thoughts. We appreciate it. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Mrs. Labby?
I'd like to congratulate Julia Started Dare, who was here, got her gold award. I think it's awesome what she did. I'd like to see more of that. I remember volunteering in my son's class for reading, and the kids just craved it, so kudos to her. I will be attending the State of the City. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Yates?
Nothing further from me this evening.
Mr. Badana?
Nothing further from me.
Shannon?
Just for the State of the City, you have to register by this Thursday, the 24th, if you are planning attending, so.
Sarah?
I do want to say a quick thank you to Sandy and Brenda for helping us keep our heads above water without an HR director. They have been a great help to help us survive this time being down, and we're very excited for the new person to start next week.
Excellent. All right. And I have nothing further this evening, so I apologize. I missed this half of the room. Mrs.
I had
Walker?
nothing.
You had nothing. Mr.
I already said no.
You started with them.
I thought so. Why were we putting him right there? Shannon, you throwing me off?
Greg put his hand up. I thought he wanted to say something.
Okay. Then we're still adjourned. All right.
So don't we have
gotta
to
excuse
we have
Sam?
Oh,
So we have to excuse Sam and
I
then.
make a motion that we excuse Mr. Supini.
I don't know if I want to do it or not.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Post
I was told the meeting's over, so.
That's okay.
I will second that, of course.
Okay. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Do we have an executive also?
No.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Okay. There was an executive session on our agenda that I asked for, and I'm not prepared to move forward with it at this time.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification.
Anything else?
We are still.